Валентина Скультэ. Английский для детей. Страница 366, урок 39, часть 2. The 39th lesson at a German lesson. Jimmy's German teacher fell seriously ill. The school children were delighted. No one among the school teachers could replace her. So there was a general rejoicing on this occasion in Jimmy's farm, but their joy was to die pretty soon. The director declared that he had found a substitute for Frau Schwarz, who for a while would act as German teacher. The children hung down their heads. What if the new teacher was too strict? They had had only a few German lessons yet and could neither read nor speak. Frau Hoch was Frau Schwarz's bosom friend. It was a tall blonde with light blue eyes. Her voice was very deep and loud, and she looked like a man in disguise. But in reality, Frau Hoch had a tender heart and trusting nature. If only the children knew how much their new teacher was afraid of them. Fortunately for her, they did not know anything about it. Frau Hoch had never taught in any school before. For friendship's sake, she agreed to act as a teacher in order to substitute her sick friend Frau Schwarz. So she had goose flesh over when she entered Jimmy's farm for the first time. All the pupils stood up and greeted her. Frau Hoch was deeply moved. She addressed them in German, but the children only blinked their innocent eyes and did not say a word. The poor teacher was at a loss. She tried to make them read, but they could not. She called some of them to the blackboard, but no one could write a word. Frau Hoch was in despair. Then she decided to begin from the very beginning and teach them their alphabet. Страница 368. In a week's time, the children knew how to write and pronounce German letters. But in less than a week's time they found out that Frau Hoch had a soft, loving heart and a trusting nature. The pupils liked her, but they were not a bit afraid of her, and always made a terrible noise at her lessons. One day Frau Hoch told them that there were 3 genders in German, according to which a table was he and a door was she. The children burst into laughter. Frau Hoch, do tables wear trousers? The boys roared. Frau Hoch, do doors wear skirts and blouses? The girls laughed. The whole class was laughing as if they would die. The German teacher tried in vain to stop their noise. They would not listen to her. Children, stop shouting. I'll be obliged to fetch your Mr. Director, the poor teacher said. A new burst of laughter came from her merry pupils. It was so funny to hear sh instead of ch and t instead of d. Kind-hearted as she was, Frau Hoch had to go to the director. Страница 369. And yet she hoped the children would be frightened and would stop their noise as soon as she left the classroom. But the children knew she was not a sneak and did not pay any attention to her threat. So the merriment went on as before. Unfortunately, the director was passing by just as Frau Hoch came out of her classroom. He saw her angry red face and heard the noise of merry voices inside. Frau Hoch, what's going on in your class? He asked, looking at her through his spectacles. The children are laughing at my poor English, Mr. Director, she said apologetically. The director entered the classroom. The noise stopped the moment the pupils saw their director. Well, now, what's all this about? He asked severely. The class was silent. Will you be so kind as to answer my question? What does all this noise mean? He repeated, frowning. May I ask you a question, sir? The carrot asked quite unexpectedly. Is it possible that a door should be she and a table he? Both of them are made of wood. Both of them are not alive. How can that be? Who told you such a thing? The director asked, turning to the teacher. Oh, Mr. Director, poor Frau Hoch answered. There are three genders in German: masculine, feminine, and neutral. Oh, I see now, the director exclaimed. I thought the boy was speaking of the English language. I see. Страница 370. Yes, children, your teacher is right. Many languages have three genders, and you never know which thing is which. For instance, in French, German, Russian, and so on, inanimate things have genders. That is why you must study your German very hard in order to use German genders correctly. Dictations and translations from English into German will do a lot of good. From this day on, you write German dictations and translations every day until you know how to write correctly, he said as he left the room. Words. To replace, заместить, general, общий, всеобщий, rejoicing, веселье, occasion, случай, повод, to be, to, должен, to be с инфинитивом другого глагола. I am to go, я должен идти. To declare, объявлять, substitute, заместитель. A while, некоторое время, for a while, на некоторое время. To act, действовать, исполнять обязанности. Strict, строгий, bosom, грудь. Bosom, friend, закадычный друг. Blonde, белокурый, блондинка. Disguise, маскировка. In disguise, переодетый в чужое. Reality, действительность, реальность. To trust, доверять. Trusting, доверчивый. Nature, характер, натура, природа. To substitute for, заменять, замещать кого-нибудь. Order, порядок. In order to, для того, чтобы. Stood, past от stand. To move, растрогать, шевелить. To be moved, растрогаться. To address, обратиться к. Innocent, невинный. To blink, моргать, хлопать глазами. To pronounce, произносить. According to, согласно чему-то, в соответствии с. According to this rule, согласно этому правилу. To oblige, обязывать. To be obliged, быть обязанным, приходиться. Merry, веселый. Merriment, веселье. Sneak, ябеда. Threat, угроза. Unfortunately, к несчастью. Inside, внутри. Apologetically, извиняющимся тоном. Страница 371. Severely, строго. Silent, молчаливый. To be silent, молчать. Inanimate, неодушевленный. On, далее, and so on, и так далее. Задание. Translate into Russian. Translate into English. Are there many lazy pupils in your form? No, not many. В вашем классе много ленивых учеников? Нет, немного. Her blue eyes were full of tears. Ее голубые глаза были полны слез. He was blinking his eyes as he did not understand anything. Он хлопал глазами, ничего не понимая, так как он ничего не понимал. In a month's time, the children began to read German a little. Через месяц дети начали немного читать по-немецки. How do you pronounce their word? Repeat it, please. Как вы произносите это слово? Повторите его, пожалуйста. Don't interrupt me. Не прерывай меня. Страница 372. Упражнение 6. Make sentences out of the following words. Girls often little cry. Boy, that you know do. Go to when we show the forest. Very to write English correctly, it words difficult is. Me, hat, my, please, and bring. Упражнение 8. Try to guess the meaning of the following sentences using a dictionary. He placed his desk by the window, but she replaced it into the corner on its old place. There came a general shout, and they saw clouds of smoke puff out of the window. In general, the Dales spoke English at home, but when mother's friend came, they usually spoke French. I am rejoiced to hear such a good news. Means I feel joy to hear it. On the occasion of her birthday, the young girls have their dresses made at a well-known dressmaker. The armed attack was begun without any declaration of war. Страница 373. Soybeans are often used as a substitute for cacao beans or seeds. In the first act, the actors and actresses were all in scarlet and gold. She pressed the child to her bosom. A dressmaker is a woman who makes dresses for women. A tailor is a man who makes suits and overcoats for men. Innocent meant not guilty. The English pronunciation is rather difficult. According to this rule, some letters do not pronounce before a few other letters. For example, W before R, right, wrong, K before N, ni, no, knife, G before N, no, gnome, net. Little children adore riding wooden horses in a merry-go-round. My brother is a student. He studies chemistry at the university. The professor was sitting in an old armchair in his study, reading the history of England. He blushed and made his apologies, assuring us that he meant no offense. You must apologize whenever you tread on somebody's corn. All things may be divided into animate and inanimate objects. Упражнение 9. Guess the riddle. What goes all around the house without legs? A broom.